From a way to guarantee your escape as the spy, to a heavy strategy that'll double your survivability, it seems you guys really like this style of video, so without further ado, here are 14 Team Fortress 2 tricks that every pro should know. Number 1. The first and most important trick is one that almost every good player will agree is absolutely essential to know, and that's how to rocket jump. Soldier is one of the best and most popular classes in the game, but if he didn't have the ability to rocket jump, he'd probably be one of the worst. Here's the basics. Look at a wall or the floor behind you, then jump, crouch, and fire all really quickly. It sounds simple, but that's only for the most basic rocket jump. There's so much to learn, like how to pogo, how to sink, air strafing, and all sorts of insane movement tech. I'm not the best person to teach you about the more advanced stuff because I don't know a lot of it myself, but what I can recommend is load up some jump maps and start practicing. If you don't already know how to rocket jump, start learning as soon as possible because it'll make your soldier gameplay so much more effective. Number 2. The second thing every pro should know is how to use the sticky bomb launcher optimally. I'm not talking about sticky spamming, even though it is ridiculously good, but instead I'm talking about sticky trapping. When most people set up sticky traps, they just throw all their stickies around one corner and wait. But what happens if your enemy comes through a different entrance? That's why the true best way to set up sticky traps is to not put all your eggs in one basket. Don't put all your stickies in the same spot. It only takes 2 or 3 stickies to kill most classes, and the stock sticky bomb launcher can put down 8 in total. So instead, put down smaller groups that can cover all the entrances. That way, no matter which entrance your enemies come through, they'll get blown up all the same. Number 3. Something super useful that all the pros know is how to fly as Demo Knight. By abusing some really weird slope physics and some flaws in the air strafing system, you can launch yourself extremely far off of some ramps and odd map geometry. It's a really hard motion to explain, you almost just have to get a feel for it yourself. But the basic idea is to jump, use the shield charge, air strafe to build momentum, and then hit a ramp. For whatever reason, in the Source engine, when you hit a ramp at a high enough speed, the game just lets you slide right off of it with no friction. And with a bit of practice, this tactic is an absolute game changer for Demo Knight. Number 4. Every good player knows to surprise their enemies. Catching your enemies off guard gives you the upper hand, so whenever it's possible, try one of these surprising tactics. Start backing away and pretend to hide around a corner, but then immediately run out of hiding, almost like you're doing a trick stab. This works especially well when fighting heavies, as sometimes you can even trick them into unrevving their gun. Alternatively, just try hiding in unexpected places. Sit in a weird corner or behind something big, and fairly often your enemies will just run right past you without even glancing in your direction. You can take this opportunity to steal a free kill. Number 5. In a similar vein, a spy's best tool is their ability to be unpredictable. As the spy, a great tactic for escaping is to run away while using the Invis Watch, and then after you're fully invisible, turn around and run in a completely opposite direction. Most people will try and predict your path after you go invisible, but they can't do that if you run in a stupid direction. Sometimes even going invisible and then standing completely still is a perfectly good strategy, because your enemies will just assume that you kept running. They won't be able to find you. Number 6. From the other end of this, when you're fighting a spy who goes invisible, try to really predict where they'll go. Some people will take the advice from the last tip and be unpredictable, but most spies will do one of the following. Either they'll run in the same direction and try to find a corner to decloak where they're safe from danger, or they'll run to a health pack and try to keep themselves alive. Use your best judgment to predict where they'll go, and take them by surprise while killing them while they're fully invisible. Number 7. Here's a tip that's extremely useful to the point where I don't even really think it's fair. If you have a cancelable taunt, like the high five or the flip, you can use the fact that it puts you in third person mode to peek around corners. Well, actually you can do this with any taunt, but with cancelable taunts in particular, you can set up a trap and then watch to see if anybody comes. For example, while standing in the cave near the edge of the cliff on upward, you can taunt to see if anyone is coming down for the health pack. When someone does show up, you can catch them by surprise by canceling the taunt and knocking them off the edge. Number 8. Next is a tip that'll definitely change the way that you play heavy. Instead of always using the sandwich to heal yourself up whenever you take damage, instead try to prioritize your teammates first. Even if you're at low health, your medic being healed up means the rest of your team will survive much longer, even if you'll probably die sooner. Always give the sandwich to the medic instead of yourself, because most of the times you do this, the medic will notice you and heal you up anyways. Number 9. Something that should be common sense but is often completely forgotten is that your secondary weapon can be used like an actual secondary. Most of the time, people see their primary and secondary as to be used in completely different scenarios, but if you actually put them together, they're much more effective. When your primary runs out of ammo, use your secondary to secure the kill, and vice versa. This is the intended purpose of secondaries like the pistol and the shotgun, but it works with any damage dealing secondary. Even something like the engineer's short circuit still does enough damage to finish an enemy off when your shotgun runs out of ammo. Number 10. Everybody always makes fun of a lot of the Pyro's melees for being pretty useless because the flamethrower is a much more efficient damage dealer at melee range, but even the stock fire axe still has some use as a finisher tool. Since melee weapons hit in bursts of 65 damage, you could use your flamethrower to lower your enemy to around 65 health and use your melee weapon to kill them a little quicker. Even if you pick the wrong time to swing and they survive your hit, the afterburn will finish them off anyways. Number 11. Most people think of the engineer as the guy with the sentry gun, but while the sentry gun is an amazing defensive area denial tool, I would argue that it's not actually engineer's most important building. Instead, that award goes to the teleporter. A sentry gun is definitely a formidable defender when it's on the point, but would be an even better defense is if your whole team was on the point. The teleporter lets your teammates get to the front lines so much faster, which is especially useful for classes like the Heavy because it completely negates his main downside of being slow. But further than that, the teleporter also lets you get back to your buildings much quicker after dying. This isn't to say that the dispenser and the sentry are bad options, they're both really good at what they do, but the teleporter is just the most important overall. Number 12. As the sniper, the best spots to hide in are the spots your enemies would never expect. In the first tips and tricks video, I talked about hiding in odd corners, but this time I have a new suggestion. If you can, try and flank behind your enemy's lines. Once you've infiltrated, stand in their sniper spot and shoot them from behind. Almost none of your enemies will bother to check their own team's sniper spot, and you'll be able to get free kills after kills. Just don't forget about the enemy sniper, because they probably won't be very happy when they discover you in their spot. Number 13. Next time you're playing the scout, try to pay attention to how you aim your scattergun shots. A lot of people will do this thing where they subconsciously aim at nothing and then flick their mouse to their target right before firing. This is one of the most common methods of aiming, but unfortunately this method usually results in less accurate shots than other methods. This isn't always the case. There are a lot of really good players who aim this way, but especially if you're new to the game, this is a habit that you should try to avoid. Instead, do one of the following. Either track your target and keep your crosshair on them at all times so you never miss a shot, or keep your crosshair relatively stationary and fire when your enemy crosses over it. If you get more practice with either of these two aiming methods, you'll find that they're much more consistent than flicking. Number 14. The last tip of the video, and one of the most important tips of all, is to experiment and have fun. You don't have to share the same opinions as everyone else, and just because your favorite YouTuber says a weapon is bad doesn't mean you shouldn't at least give it a try. Your playing style is not going to be the same as everybody else's, so you shouldn't play like it is. Personally, I like using weapons like the Pain Train and the Blutsauger, even though most people agree that they're not very good. The point is, you shouldn't always follow what other people say. You should experiment with everything and decide for yourself what you like to use. And there you have it. There's 14 Team Fortress 2 tricks every pro should know. If you're already a pro, you probably already knew a lot of these, and if that's the case, feel free to leave a comment with your own tips and tricks. I'm also always looking for feedback, so if you disagree with something in the video, let me know. Anyways, consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.